Confidence is a skill, not a trait. You're born with it and you build it every single day of your life. In high school, you'd always find me at the back of the class. And whenever the teacher was about to ask a question, I was the first one to physically hide my head. I wasn't confident in my words or in my actions because, as a skinny kid prone to a lot of social anxiety, confidence felt like a distant concept I simply had no access to. And then just coming home and seeing everyone posting on social media, it just made it worse. They all seemed to be projecting so much confidence while I was not. Meanwhile, I couldn't even answer a phone call without feeling like my heart was about to burst out of my chest. And 5 years later, I've moved to a different country, learned a different language, built my physique, and started coaching other people. All of that starting with -1 confidence. And what I didn't realize at the time is that confidence is not a prerequisite for achievement. Confidence is built on experiences, and the more practice you get, the more confidence you stack up. More than that, there's a specific system to build up confidence. Confidence is a skill, not a trait. You weren't ready yesterday, you aren't today, and you won't be tomorrow. There's only one way to acquire confidence, and that is to build a bank of memories that prove you can do what you're about to engage in. If you've never exercised, for example, you don't have any proof to show your brain that you can pull that off. This results in feeling inadequate, stressed, and unsure of your decisions. You have to back up confidence with experience. Repetitions, repetitions, repetitions. You build confidence through actions, repetitions, and ultimately mastery. That's the only way to do it. It isn't about some complicated system, but rather about repeated similar experiences. And it all makes sense when you truly think about it. Don't forget that your brain has been designed for survival. And the worst thing is to tell it, okay, let's do this hard thing that we've never done before. Now, not only your brain will estimate your chances of success close to zero, but it will also judge the risk too high and the chances of success too low. The biggest issue with the system is that the first couple of interaction with this new behavior, situation, or activity, you will have to force the engagement because your confidence level will be non-existent at first. This is precisely why the first time is always the hardest. Each time that you engage in, you reduce the threshold for activation, making it 1% easier than it was before. Still, there's no way to jump from newbie to mastery, and you have to face the frustration of not being able to do it yet. So there you have it. To become confident, you basically have to convince your brain using memories and data and beliefs that you're able to do this thing. In your brain perceptions, confidence is what makes the traffic light green. Without it, you'll wait a long time at the red light to turn green. Your brain will not want to go any further. And initially, you'll have to force it. You'll have to keep engaging regardless, even if it feels like you're rushing through a red light every time that you're doing this thing. Remember that as long as you don't know how something works, you cannot be confident, especially if no one ever showed you how to do it. You see, humans are very good at copying others, for better or for worse. You will learn behaviors and develop traits through watching others, and that's especially true for kids. That's the theory of social modeling. But the opposite is true though. If you've only seen people that were acting out of fear and lack of confidence, you'll integrate and copy those mental models as well. So if as a kid you didn't have confident people around you, then chances are that your brain is even more reluctant to try, and every new experience feels risky and impossible. Learning from someone is great, and it's a powerful tool to start acquiring a new skill. That being said, you have to make sure that they're using genuine confidence, because some people will try to imitate confidence, and you can see a lot of this fake confidence on social media, for example. And I highly suggest you stay away from this type of imitation because it's like lying to yourself. You display confidence in front of others, yet you're convinced that you don't have any. And that's especially detrimental because in that scenario, not only you lack the confidence, which is fine, you also purposefully train your brain that you have to fake it. This results in you reducing your chances of building confidence rather than improving it. You feel like a fraud and you develop stage 4 of imposter syndrome. Because what they're doing, those people that imitate the confidence, they try to display confidence without having a big enough bank of mastery to back them up. They haven't been through enough necessary experiences conducive to solidify their confidence. So what you have to take away from this is that if you currently don't have confidence, don't fake it. It's useless. Anyway, most people can tell, and it will prevent you from building real confidence. Instead, you want to embrace it. The lack of confidence is basically just your brain telling you, man, we haven't been doing this for long enough, and I can't provide an assured behavior yet. Your own distortions are killing your confidence. Confidence is subjective. You are the one granting yourself confidence. That is why it's subject to a lot of distortions. Now, there's a key principle to understand here, and that is your emotions at a specific time aren't indicative of how much confidence you have in your bank. For example, the fear that you feel talking to someone for the first time doesn't mean you have zero confidence in your social skills. A lot of people mistake their emotional response for an absence of confidence, but it's not. Of course, it's linked, but there's a line to draw between your emotional response and your confidence level. This is a cognitive bias known as emotional reasoning. It means that you're using emotion at a specific time to filter your perception of the world. So you have to be careful about that. Now, the quality of your self-talk, the dialogue in your mind, is especially important. And if it's negative enough, it will negatively taint your perception to a point that you probably can fathom right now. You end up diminishing your own perception of what you're capable of doing when you're in an emotional situation, a stressful situation most of the time. For example, let's just say you have a presentation at work or public speech to give. Chances are you'll be stressed, fearful, and even doubtful. Now you have to use your self-talk to counter the stress response. Otherwise, your brain will try to convince you that giving this speech isn't a good idea. And this process considerably diminishes your sense of self-confidence because you see there's no possible self-assurance if there isn't emotional stability. In fact, research has shown that confidence is highly negatively correlated with the lack of emotional stability. Now, this doesn't mean that the goal is not to feel any emotion. It means you need to maintain a balanced inner state if you want to feel confident. You are not your emotions nor your confidence level. At the end of the day, these are just feedback and interpretations made by your brain. In fact, your thinking, especially when influenced by emotions, is highly biased. And if you tend to have a low self-esteem, you've experienced this. Your perception of your ability to produce the work fluctuates depending on your mood and self-talk that day. But the beauty of it is that at any time you can bypass them and engage regardless using your willpower. When I was younger, I played the guitar. I practiced a little bit every day. I wasn't great, but I knew how to use the instrument. When I was alone in my room, I felt confident playing. I knew I could do a riff because I had practiced it. But just the thought of playing in front of an audience made me forget all the practice I had put in. And I felt like I would never be able to play in this context. Nothing changed about my ability to play the song, but the context switch made my perceived ability shrink. That's how powerful your mind is. Even if your body is more than capable of doing it, your mind oftentimes takes over and decides. And that's exactly why learning how to control your emotional response is very important, especially when it comes to your stress response. And if you're interested in this subject, my last video talks about exactly that. I put the link in the description. Confidence is not complex to build. Now let's deconstruct the whole system so we can see how we can reverse engineer it. Confidence is a system with a specific loop that you need to understand in order to be able to influence it. The most important thing to know is that you don't have direct influence over the major part of it. And if you currently have a low self-confidence, just the fact of telling yourself that you need to improve it is quite useless. As mentioned, general confidence is built from mastery and proof, evidence that your brain has collected. This is stored in the back of your mind. It's subconscious, meaning you don't have direct access to it, and it's dictated by every daily action. All the things that you do or don't are stored in your brain, and your brain is going to extract those memories to estimate your general ability to tackle anything new. This treasure chest connects and power all the different domains in your life, your relationships, hobbies, work, fitness, whatever it is. Now, those more narrow domains, they display your confidence on a local scale. They are all linked to your bank of mastery, but are individually malleable. For example, you can be confident in your relationship, but less confident in your work. I'm confident in my ability to train, and I'm not confident at all in my ability to draw. You're more or less able to ballpark your confidence level in those more narrow domains, meaning that you're relatively conscious of it. For example, if I were to ask you on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you about your fitness, you'd be able to give me an approximation. And here I present you the key to this system, the key to building confidence. Those local areas of confidence, they decompose into specific skills and micro confidence. For example, one of my domain is the gym, and it decomposes into small specific skills such as the technique, knowledge of equipment, and workout planning. And if you want to build confidence, you need to focus on this rather than general confidence that you don't have direct access to, because you have already in you all the power and control you need to engage in those specific skills that will shape your local confidence in a specific domain. Because keep in mind that confidence is built through actions and repetitions. You can decide at any time to become better at your relationships. For example, the simple thought of improvement has probably popped into your mind a couple times, but it didn't make things any better because you have to work on specific skills that are part of the relationship domain, such as active listening, conflict resolution, and emotional stability, for example. Same thing with fitness. Think about it. How confident will you be if you knew exactly how to lift weights, how to program your workouts, and if you had the social abilities to make contact in the gym? A hell lot more. Once you refine your mindset this way, once you understand that confidence is built through repetitions of specific skills within a particular domain, you become unstoppable. As you basically have the recipe to build confidence in all areas of your life. And the biggest mistake that people make about confidence is that they assume it's only a top-down process, meaning that their general level of confidence decides everything and that they have no control over it. Wrong. It's also a bottom-up loop. If you get the hang of a skill, you improve your local expertise in one specific domain. Do that enough time in enough domain, and so you'll build up and reinforce your general confidence indirectly. Keep in mind that this works as a loop. Prove to your bank of mastery that you're capable of doing more, and your brain will back you up even more, making everything seem easier. This reframing mindset part is the cheat code in understanding how to boost your confidence level. Now, how to build confidence in any area of your life. Now, because all of that might sound too abstract, here are 5 actionable steps that you need to take in order to start building confidence. Now, first one is to stop seeing confidence as an absolute. You have to treat it as a game. Your confidence level is not an absolute. It fluctuates depending on your emotional state and the nature of your self-talk. Your confidence level is not set in stone. You have control over it. Avoid labeling yourself as having low self-confidence. Instead, focus on what truly matters. Showing your brain through actions and repetition that you have experiences to back this confidence. Treat it as a game. Every time you experience something, you gain experience points, just like in a video game. The more points you have in a domain, the more confidence you'll get. Second thing, you need to choose one domain. Make sure you're engaging in pertinent experiences that align with your goal and long-term vision. Nothing is inherently positive or negative. It depends on what you want. And for example, if you spend a lot of time playing video games, you'll probably get very good at it. However, all the time that you spend doing this cannot be spent building other domains in your life. So manage your time investment wisely, as this dictates which skills you'll build. So pick one local domain in your life that you need to invest in, and you want to do it sustainably. And as a coach, I always recommend picking training if you're not currently exercising. I've come to find that this domain is the one that builds confidence the most and the quickest. Third, find a model, study, and copy. If you're starting to build confidence in a specific domain, you cannot yet understand all the underlying mechanisms, and it will be overwhelming. So the best thing that you can do is to find a model, someone who does exactly what you aspire to do, and study them. Once you understand the most basic principles, copy them. Imitate without feeling bad for doing so, but don't steal though. You don't have yet the capacity to do it on your own, so you need someone to emulate. I started my fitness journey by copying fitness YouTubers that were sharing their workouts, diets, and support. 4. Become aware of your distortions. Whatever the domain of confidence you choose, you will come to find that your mind brings its load of mental distortions. One day going to the gym feels easy and your confidence, and the next day, for no apparent reason, it's the opposite. Expect that your perception, whether it's the difficulty of the skills or your self perception of your abilities, will be shaky at first. Additionally, you have to know that your emotions will interfere with your ability to clearly assess your level of confidence. 5. Practice, practice, and practice. None of this will matter if you don't keep engaging repeatedly in the same actions that will lead you to build those skills. Confidence is built through practice. You have to give tangible reasons for your brain to believe your ability to do this. Soon enough, you'll stop emulating someone and you'll create your own approach, your personal set of skills. Distortions will have less impact on your engagement because your mind just will tend to be more stable. And in the end, you'll become generally more self-assured because you've experienced it enough times to know what is reality and what is your mind just playing games. So as always, I hope this helps. Just trust the process.